She helped a dying old woman in the rain. What happened next shocked the entire village. They laughed at her. They mocked her. But she didn't stop. This is the story of Amina, a young girl whose small act of kindness unearthed secrets, changed lives, and exposed something her village never saw coming. Amina was only 13 when the village of Gidden Tofa began to forget her. Thin, dark-skinned, and always barefoot, she roamed the dusty paths with a bundle of sticks on her back and a quiet sadness in her eyes. Her parents had died in a road accident when she was 9. Since then, she had lived with her fading grandmother, Mama Yarrow, in a crumbling hut on the village outskirts. Most days, she barely ate. She had never owned a pencil or worn a uniform. But every morning, as children walked to school singing songs, Amina would sit near the mango tree and draw letters in the sand, whispering lessons to herself like a ghost chasing a dream. She had one wish: to be seen, to be heard, to matter. But that wish seemed too big for a girl too small. It was during the rainy season, in the month of Agba, when the clouds arrived without warning. The thunder was loud. The wind screamed through the trees. Villagers ran indoors, stalls shut, chickens scattered. Amina, however, was deep in the forest. Mama Yarrow had begged her not to go out that day, but they hadn't eaten for 2 nights. She needed firewood to cook whatever scraps were left. As she bundled the sticks, lightning split the sky, and then she heard it. A cry. Faint. Broken. Help, please. She paused. Her heart raced. The voice sounded close, yet far. She dropped her load and ran toward the sound. And there she saw her. An old woman collapsed in the mud, face twisted in pain, clothes torn and soaked. Blood dripped from her ankle. Her eyes fluttered. She whispered again, "Please help me." Amina's first instinct was fear. What if it was a trap? What if she was cursed? She had heard stories of witches who disguised themselves, of evil spirits in human form. But something deeper pulled her forward. She dropped to her knees beside the woman. "I'll help you, Mama. Don't worry." The woman winced in pain. She had a swollen ankle and bruises on her arms. Amina tore a piece of her wrapper and tied it tightly around the woman's leg. Then, with trembling arms, she hoisted the stranger on her back and began the long, slippery walk back home. It took over an hour, rain pouring, mud sucking at her feet, thorns tearing her legs. Twice she slipped. Once they both almost fell into a ravine, but she didn't stop. The old woman whispered, "Why are you helping me, child?" Amina, panting and soaked, replied, "Because no one helped me when I needed it, and I know how it feels." Back home, Mama Yarrow screamed when she saw the stranger. They had no food, no medicine, no space, but Amina insisted. They laid the woman on their mat, gave her dry clothes, and Amina did something unthinkable. She offered the woman the last bowl of pap meant for her sick grandmother. That night, as the wind howled outside, the 3 of them sat in silence. The woman barely spoke. Her eyes remained on Amina. "You are not ordinary," she whispered. But by morning, she was gone. No goodbye, no thank you, just gone. 2 days passed. Then 3. Then the whispers began. First, it was the village women at the well. She brought a stranger to her house. She welcomed a witch. Her grandmother is cursed now. Then came the boys, throwing stones at their hut, laughing. Maybe the old woman stole her soul. Even Mama Yarrow began to worry. Amina, what if she wasn't real? Then on the 7th day, everything changed. It began with dust. A large vehicle tore through the village road, kicking up clouds of red dust as villagers scattered. No one had seen a car like that before, shiny, long, black. It stopped right in front of the market square. 3 men in clean suits stepped out. "We are looking for a girl named Amina." Silence. No one moved. Then someone whispered, "She lives near the bush path." The men turned, and behind them the car door opened. Out stepped the old woman. But this time, she wasn't dirty. She wasn't weak. She stood tall, elegant, wearing a flowing white agbada with gold embroidery. Her face was clean. Her eyes are powerful. Gasps filled the air. It was her, the stranger, the witch. But she was no beggar, no wanderer. She was Madame Falek Adji, multi-millionaire businesswoman and secret philanthropist. She had been traveling incognito to find someone who would help without knowing who she was. Someone like Amina. She stepped forward and pulled Amina from the crowd, holding her hands in front of the entire village. "You gave me your last food, your shelter, your scarf, your strength. You didn't ask for anything. You reminded me that humanity still lives among the poor, the forgotten." Then she turned to the crowd. "This girl will never be forgotten again." From the SUV, they brought out gifts. An admission, Letter to one of the best boarding schools in Abuja. A scholarship till university. A deed of land for a new house. A signed contract to build a learning center in Gidan Tofa, in Amina's name. A full medical sponsorship for Mama Yarrow. And 50 free scholarships for other children in the village. Villagers wept. Elders bowed. The very people who once mocked her now praised her. Weeks later, bulldozers came. A new house was built. A white school bus arrived daily for village children. Amina walked into her first classroom, wearing polished black shoes and a brand new uniform. But she never forgot the mud, the hunger, the pain. Today, Amina is in her 20s, a law student, a writer, and founder of the Invisible Hands Foundation, helping poor children across West Africa. And when asked why she gives so much, she smiles and says, "Because someone once told me, kindness is the seed, destiny is the harvest." Ever since that unforgettable moment, when Amina chose to rise above her own struggles and act with compassion, a profound change began to take root in the heart of the town. Her gesture, though simple in appearance, carried a weight that echoed far beyond the act itself. People who witnessed her sacrifice, both directly and through word of mouth, were stirred in a way they had never experienced before. It was as though a veil had been lifted from their eyes, allowing them to see that true strength lies not in wealth or power, but in the courage to care for others, even when you have little to offer. Inspired by Amina's boldness and generosity, individuals from every corner of the town, young and old, rich and poor, began to embrace a new way of living. They no longer waited for others to lead. Instead, they took initiative, stepping out of their comfort zones to help those in need. Patriotic conduct became a common sight, not because anyone demanded it, but because Amina's example had revealed how beautiful and powerful such actions could be. Her legacy created a ripple effect that swept through the streets, homes, and markets of the community. Gradually, helping others was no longer considered an occasional responsibility or a rare virtue. It became a cultural norm. Giving transformed from an optional act into a deeply respected tradition, something the people wore like a badge of honor. Assistance was no longer limited to emergencies. It became woven into the fabric of daily life. People gave not just money or material goods, but time, empathy, and attention. They gave of themselves. Schools began to teach children the value of kindness. Market vendors would go out of their way to support struggling families. Community leaders organized outreach programs and volunteer efforts, all driven by the spirit that Amina had awakened. In every corner of the town, helping one another became a priority, whether it was carrying an elderly woman's basket, sharing food with a hungry child, or simply offering a word of encouragement to someone who looked weary. These small acts began to pile up until they reshaped the entire atmosphere of the community. No longer was the town defined by selfish ambition or silent suffering. It had become a place where hearts were open, hands were extended, and hope was reborn. Amina's conduct was more than a moment of goodness. It was a seed that bloomed into a movement. Her action, though born out of personal struggle, ignited a light that burned through the darkness of indifference. It reminded everyone that a single person, with the right heart, could spark a revolution of compassion. Her courage became a mirror, reflecting what the town had long forgotten, that deep within every human being lies the power to uplift, to serve, and to transform. Today, when people speak of the town, they speak of it with reverence, not because of its wealth or fame, but because of its heart. Amina's story is told to children as a lesson in humility and purpose. Her name is remembered not for grand speeches or heroic battles, but for the quiet strength she carried and the choice she made to love when it would have been easier to walk away. Her legacy endures not in monuments or medals, but in every act of kindness that flows from one neighbor to another, every life touched, and every soul reminded that transformation always begins with one person who dares to care. In a world where everyone is rushing to take, dare to give, one act of compassion can shake mountains. Just ask Amina, the girl who gave her last bowl of pap and received the world in return. 5 things to adopt from Amina's story. 1. Compassion. Amina showed care despite her own struggles. Putting others' needs before pride can heal communities. 2. Selflessness. Giving even when you don't have much proves that true generosity comes from the heart, not wealth. 3. Courage. It takes boldness to stand out and do what's right when others choose silence or comfort. 4. Consistency and kindness. A single act is powerful, but making kindness a habit transforms it into culture. 5. Leading by example. You don't need a title to lead. Just like Amina, let your actions speak, and others will follow. Subscribe to Learn Like a Child for more emotional, real-life inspired stories that remind us what it means to love, give, and grow.